Eddie Hearn, thanks again for joining me, and once again the hair's looking magnificent, may I just say. I wanted to talk to you, first of all, the press is coming up. I saw an interview between Ariel, Amanda and Katie yesterday, and Amanda said she was nervous. She was thinking, all I want to do is get to May 1st. Oh, excuse me. All I want to do is get to May 1st. Is that unusual for a fighter, or is that something that's saying the stage is starting to get to her?
I think the stage will get to her, but she's boxed on a couple of big cards last two fights. She's never experienced anything like this before, nor has Katie. But I would say that Katie's been, more in this kind of environment than Amanda has. As I said yesterday, I can't remember if I said it to you or not, but this is Katie's stomping ground. Like, these are the moments that she excels as an athlete. And you'll see that on Saturday night. So we just got to focus on Katie and herself. Amanda will do her. She'll be in great form. And but there'll be a lot of pressure. Because when you fight on a card like this, with huge anticipation and huge exposure, there is pressure. And we'll see how she handles it on the night.
How taxing are these weeks for you? Because I've seen like a group of vultures of us surrounding you, trying to get you for another bit of meat. How taxing are these for you?
It's what I do. Yesterday was brutal. I think I started at 7:30 in the morning. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be doing my job. So, when I speak to you, I spoke to you yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. Now you want another piece. That's okay. You've got to do your job as well. We're all doing our jobs, aren't we?
I like that. I appreciate, by the way, the time. I wanted to talk to you about something. The UFC have just announced a return to London on July 23rd. I know that was the date that you were looking at. It's not a pay-per-view for the UFC, so maybe you wouldn't argue that it's going to go up against AJ versus Usyk if that turns out to be the date. But is the UFC calendar something you do look at when you start preparing those sort of fights?
Dana messaged me 2 days ago and said, look, are you going July 23rd? And I said, possibly. And he said, look, we're going July the 23rd in London. Do you want me to move it, or do you want to? What do you think? Because he knows AJ Usyk's like, it's one of.
He's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart, is he?
No, but we've got a good relationship, so I think he's, I'm sure he's not thinking about our business, but he's being courteous, I think. And I said, look, if we go, it will be 9 o'clock main event probably, because that date would be a Middle East date. So. And he said, look, it's just so hard to get a venue, which it is. I said, just do your thing, whatever you need to do. We're not confirmed for July 23rd. If we do go July 23rd, we'll speak to Dana and make sure that the bulks of the main events don't clash. And it's good to have that kind of relationship. I said that to Ariel yesterday. I think he asked me about Canelo, and obviously there's a UFC event next weekend. So is there a conversation to be had there? But there is also a lot to be said. As I said, I remember when Canelo boxed last time, and Dana had it on his laptop, and there was a big furore online. Who's going first? And it kind of just adds to the occasion. And you can't, they can't run their business worrying or thinking about us, and us vice versa. So I don't look at the UFC schedule. I mean, if there was a Conor McGregor fight or something huge, but there is crossover between the audiences, but not. I realise that at UFC, I don't feel like it's the same audience.
Curious if. For some reason they couldn't be moved, Conor went up against Canelo. Which pay-per-view sells more?
Depends on the fight.
Golovkin and Nate Diaz.
Yeah, Golovkin's, Golovkin's $1 million plus, and Conor, is always does well. So I don't know. But there's a good example where we would look at it and say, don't really want to clash.
UFC London, it looks like it's going to be headlined by Tom Aspinall again. I actually spoke to Tom yesterday, and he told me that you're a proper geezer, and he loves everything you do. So what was your feedback for Tom? I know you were ringside to what.
I don't know a lot of UFC fighters. I know Molly, I know Paddy, I know.
It's hard to get away from Molly when you know her.
So Tom is someone I'd heard about, and obviously got to witness him up close live. Big lump, strong boy, and. I admire all these guys. They all put a lot of work in. They all make big sacrifices. Don't know him. Seems like a lovely chap. And now he said that, I like him a lot. So good luck to Tom Aspinall.
Outside of all that, Kamaru Usman and his manager Ali Abdelaziz, they've been sort of poking at Canelo for a while. Canelo's kind of ignored it for the most part, and then yesterday he seemed to get a little bit irked. I'm curious if you've spoken to Canelo or what happened there.
He definitely wouldn't be irked, because that's not his style. But I just think he probably had a bit of fun with it. And I love these comebacks, so cool. But both of them, it's great. Listen, it's all good. We all know that if Canelo Alvarez boxed Usman in a boxing match, it would be the most embarrassing mismatch of all time. And maybe if Canelo boxed him or fought him in MMA rules, Usman would be the favourite, but I'd still fancy Canelo to chin him. But I don't know. I think look, that's a huge fight. You talk about Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury. Usman against Canelo is another massive fight. Canelo would stroll into that boxing match and take the money and say thank you very much. But he made a very valid point yesterday, which was, I've got legacy to take care of. You know, he's fighting Dimitri Bivol, the world light heavyweight champion, next weekend. So sit down, wait for your payday and be quiet. That's what he said to him. And look, Usman's a great fighter as well. And listen, I've heard Dana White not speak that favourably about that fight, understandably so. But if he ever did want to do it, we'd do it in a heartbeat, obviously.
He said it's all good, but when his manager Ali Abdelaziz says stuff like, "Oh, Canelo's fighting, bums with..."
Yeah, but I don't really know Ali Abdelaziz, but he embarrassed himself there. It's like, oh, he's only got 8,000 followers. I mean, Canelo fights champion after champion after champion. He is the greatest fighter, one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's the pound for pound #1 of the sport. So I don't know Usman's fault either. I don't know. And same with Ali Abdelaziz. Ali Abdelaziz has no idea what he's talking about boxing. I have no idea what I'm talking about UFC. So, we're the same, really.